Hello, and welcome again to my portion of the internet. Well, it's not really mine, I'm just renting it from Al Gore. Okay, so today we're going to talk to you about Family Guy. I've never been a huge fan, but I've heard jokes from people around me, and I've watched the odd episode. It's kind of fascinating me because it's sometimes funny, and sometimes not. Almost sometimes funny and not funny at the same time. So I'm going to go through a couple episodes that are, I would say, not the greatest Family Guy episodes, but still they have really funny parts to them. And we're going to see what's funny, what's not funny. We'll go from there. The first episode that we will be looking to is an episode from Season 5. It's called Prick Up Your Ears. Now, it opens to a string of actually really funny gags. It starts off with a King of Queens spoof called Rodney King of Queens. Mayor Adam West is on the couch watching this. He then gets pizza, and of course he gets the wrong type of pizza. That causes Mayor Adam West to get angry and goes after the pizza delivery man with a cat launcher. The cat launcher then breaks a window which contains pornographic movies, which will sort of be a plot point as Chris and his friends walk by and see that, and of course, being the horny teenagers they are, they go in and grab the pornographic movies. We cut to the Griffins, and the horny teenage boys are watching the pornographic movies. There's a pretty nice gag here of the pornographic movies have terrible acting and ridiculous plots variety. Not a very difficult gag to pull off, but a well done one. There's, genital hospital. You've been diagnosed with nymphomania. Take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Spoiler. It's their penises. Here we learn that in Chris's school, they do not have a sex ed teacher, apparently. It was cut to save money. Peter and Lois then discuss this in a fairly amusing manner, and Lois eventually decides that if no one is going to teach sex ed in Chris's class, then she might as well do it. We then cut to Lois teaching the class sex ed. Peter, of course, comes in and does wacky things. Now we get to the house, and we get to our B part of the episode. In my opinion, the funnier part of the episode. Stewie loses a tooth. This will set up a tooth fairy B plot. Now with the goading of Brian and Chris, Stewie becomes kind of terrified of the tooth fairy. Now this leads to one of the favorite gags of the episodes for me. It's Brian comes and shakes the baby and hits him like, you gotta get hold of us, and then it just keeps on going on, and then you see a huge line of people about to shake Stewie and hit him. Now we're back to the A plot, which is still on its fun legs. Lois and Peter again talk. There's a joke that kind of fails here about Liam Neeson in an American Cowboy flick. It's not really that funny. It's just about as funny as me saying Liam Neeson as a cowboy. Isn't that hilarious? And here's where the episode takes a turn for the worst. Oh look, the lights went off. It was so unfunny. Oh, okay. Now, so do parents protesting the sex ed class. You could have done so much with that. But no, they don't make a joke out of it. Essentially, just Lois goes and says, what's going on? We're protesting the sex ed class. Then the principal's like, we're gonna cancel your sex ed class because you're teach people about condoms. And there's no joke here. There's no jokes here. This is the show built on a joke a minute they just hit you with, and lots of rapid fire jokes. And there's no joke here. There's a Knight Rider thing at the end, but that's barely a joke. It's just like Knight Rider. Just Knight Rider. Essentially, it's just like me saying Knight Rider here. It's not funny. Versus episodes where it really goes downhill. Then we cut to the Griffin's house, and we have another conversation with no jokes in it. Lois just talks to Brian, and they're both like, well, it's too bad they canceled the safe sex class, and Brian's like, yeah, and you did the right thing. There's no jokes in here. ignoring the fact the writers are getting on a soapbox. Which, you know, if you want to argue issues through comedy, you can do that. It's been done. But make it funny. Make jokes out of it. Now my pastor is going to teach the students at Chris's school about abstinence. Because if you haven't gotten the point of the episode, because it's been driven in with such subtlety, the subtlety of a herd of elephants, the point of this episode is that abstinence sex education is bad. There are some bit of satire type things in here that kind of work with the pastor trying to be all hip with the kids nowadays. Especially where the pastor manipulates the kids by talking trash about the rival of the school in which he's talking to. The upshot of all of this is that Meg gets a boyfriend and they pledge to be abstinent. Now we get back to the B-plot. Yes, the B-plot. Anyway, Stewie is afraid of the Tooth Fairy, and he gets all the toys to guard him while he sleeps. Then Brian wakes him, but the Tooth Fairy still managed to sneak in and get the tooth and leave a bit of money under his pillow. Stewie then vows to seek revenge and kill the Tooth Fairy. There's another cutaway gag of a Laguna Beach parody. Now we get back, unfortunately, to the A-plot. Meg makes a comment to Peter about how she has pledged to be abstinent. Meg then hands Peter a booklet given by the abstinent people, and Peter decides to be abstinent. Guess Peter misunderstood the whole sex to marriage thing and went that to no sex. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be funny or not or what. But then we go back to the B-plot. Stewie getting tooths from people. Yes. The respite is quick, however, as we go back to the A-plot. They're at a football game, and then Meg and her boyfriend are making out because they're girlfriend-boyfriend now, and then they, of course, separate. They're like, I wish I could take our love to the next level. Oh, I feel the same way. And then I express our love another way, and then, of course, a couple of gay or British or something people come in a golf cart and get the ball, and somebody makes a comment about playing squash better than you pass. I don't know whether there was supposed to be a joke in there. It was really just another scene that just wasn't all that funny. We cut back to the Peter and Lois portion of the A-plot. Peter states that he's going to be abstinent. Then Lois finds the booklet, and then, now she has to go talk to Meg, and then they're apparently having ear sex, because they have to, of course, they can't have sexual intercourse, so they have to express their love another way, and ear sex, and that's funny or supposed to make a point, I think. Maybe. I'm not sure how it does. I mean, I get sort of where they're going. I mean, people that make abstinence pledges kind of things often, not always, try to sort of get around that by, not having vaginal intercourse, but instead having, like, oral sex or something like that. The oral sex, they sometimes have oral sex, how you hear, so it's supposed to be kind of a pun on that. I'm not really are they, going, oral sex is bad because something, or is that the point they're trying to make, or I don't know. We have another long extended scene with very little jokes in it, where Lois is explaining to Meg that, abstinence isn't the way, and that ear sex is bad. It's unnatural. I'm not sure if this is making a comment that oral sex is unnatural. There's a bit of a joke at the end where Lois goes kind of far into explaining how vaginal intercourse is awesome. And also Meg leaves during this because the whole hearing your parents talk about how awesome it is when they have sex is not generally that appealing. We then go to a news story about the A-plot, in which they don't really make any good jokes. I mean, they make a joke about once you go black, you go deaf, because black people have big penises, and that's hilarious. Now, Brian has a bulimic girlfriend, and this gives Stewie an idea because he's having trouble finding teeth in order to lure the Tooth Fairy, and apparently the bulimic loses teeth when she vomits. Stewie then takes the bulimic girlfriend out to dinner and gets her to throw up by telling her how fat she looks. And then we get to the lowest point in the episode. Okay, this is the culmination of the whole Peter is absent plot. What happens is Peter and Lois decide to have sex, except Peter tries for your sex, and Lois is like, no, and then Lois basically forces Peter to have sex. It was rape, actually. She literally drags Peter as he's screaming at her not to have sex. She drags him towards her, forces him to have sex. It's rape. It's what it is. Now, you may be wondering, female and male rape? Can that happen? It can. It seems kind of odd that it would be able to be done, but it can. And the fact that they show it like that, and it's played for laughs, and that it's played entirely that Lois is entirely in the right for doing it, is just not funny. It's kind of disturbing. They've done this in a lot of shows. Actually, a surprising amount of shows, that sexual harassment and rape is played for laughs and be completely okay when it's female and male, and that is just not the case. I mean, it's the same either way. It's whether a woman is raping a man or a man is raping a woman. That's just how it is. Not only does this Lois entirely right in doing this, Peter, like, mid-rape, is like, oh, this is great. Just flip the genders on this, okay? Just imagine the plot line was that Lois decided to be abstinent. And then Peter was like, no, we're going to have sex. And then drag Lois, kicking and screaming to have sex. And then raped her. And then mid-rape Lois was just like, oh, I see what you're getting at. I'm enjoying this. Imagine that for a second. Think that would air on TV? Now that Peter is convinced through the power of rape, now they have to convince others about the power of rape. Well, not really rape, but, that abstinence, sex education is bad. Because, that's the point of the episode. And this leads to a fairly funny Mel Gibson apologizing to the Jews for their big Jew noses gag. Then they go to the school, sneak in order to teach others about the power of sex and abstinence being bad and such. Mercifully, we cut back to the B-plot, and Stewie now has orchestrated a whole laser security system to catch the Tooth Fairy. All he catches is Brian then, and Brian then tells him that the Tooth Fairy isn't real. Stewie looks under his pillow, and the tooth that he got from Brian's bulimic girlfriend has gone missing. And then we find out that the Tooth Fairy is real, and he's just living in a basement somewhere. It just has this big pile of tooths. And it's actually a guy, kind of a white trashy kind of looking guy, kind of with a fairy outfit. It's kind of strange to me. He just has a big pile of teeth, and he just kind of jumps on. Kind of weird. I'm not sure if it's funny, but it was weird. Fortunately, the end of that means we have to go back to the A-plot. Then we get to the no-joke PSA portion of this episode, where Lois gives a speech about if you want to have sex, do, and if you do, use a condom. And then the class cheers, then Meg and her boyfriend are like, no, okay, we can totally have sex now. This leads to a joke about Meg being completely unlikable and stupid and such, because when Doug, her boyfriend, sees Meg naked, he runs away and dumps her. The show ends with more of other people saying how Lois was right in talking to the kids about using condoms and standing up for what she believes in and how that was right. Anyway, I think this is going to have to get split into two parts. So, This was part 1 of my quest into Family Guy. Stay tuned for part 2. Goodbye, Internet, until part 2.